To join an amazing Magic the Gathering community, check out kitchentablemtg.com.
Hey everybody, this is Tao at the Forge, and I need to be a little bit quiet because it's late at night and my family's sleeping, so I don't want to wake them up. But I did want to do unboxing number 3. Now, you might be wondering what happened to unboxing number 2, but unboxing number 2 was ruined because I realized that the camera I was using was focusing solely on the background and didn't have very good quality, so we're going to go straight to number 3. The other box is pretty good. I actually got a foil swamp, which was pretty nice, and also an Urza plainswalker. So anyways, let's just get started here. So one thing I was curious about was that, is Wizards of the Coast going to keep that Ask Urza site going, or are they going to just let it go and for a while and then basically shut it down later? It's going to be kind of interesting, because what are you going to do later on if you want to keep playing it? So maybe there's a chance that someone else is going to mirror that site, and or make one. I think it'd be a good idea for someone to maybe make like kind of one that could replace it if it ever goes down, because there could still be people who are interested in doing and using it. So that could always be something for people to do. So all right, let's see, mountains, looking good so far. So one of the interesting things was that, the foil land, the foil swamp that I got is listed at actually quite a high value. It's almost worth an entire booster box, so that was kind of a nice find. So one thing I wanted to talk about, and there's a couple of them actually, is, is it worth it to put these in Commander? Right, so there was the thing that people were saying is, should you be, that these are actually legal in Commander, at least for a while. But I think that the problem is that, these types of cards in Commander would kind of break the, the format, and make it so it's not really fun to play for anyone else. Right, so I would suggest that it's probably not a good idea to put these in Commander, maybe for a short time to have kind of a uncommander set, but over time I would say, like for a short term, or of course because it's a casual format, I think in your commander group it's probably not a good idea to have those in there. A better question though is it worth it to put these cards into a cube? Now, there's two different types of scenarios where I can see this happening. The first one is it worth it? Oh, that's great art there for success. All right, so anyways, the first one is to make a commander cube, or not a commander cube, an uncube, and I think that's actually a fun idea. Oh, this is the second one I got. Great. So is it worth it to make an uncube? I'd be curious to see what other people thought of it. There's some things that would make it difficult. Like for instance, there are cards that allow you to crack packs, and bring other packs into it. So how would you accommodate that? So maybe you just don't include those, or maybe, oh, that's actually really cool, record store. So maybe you just wouldn't include those, but there's other ones too. Okay, like for instance, there's cards that require you to go and open up a pack of another deck, or bring in a card that's banned in another format, things like that. So what are you gonna do with those? Are you going to just allow people to do that, or what? I don't think that that's a good idea, to be honest. I think that would probably create a lot of things, and a lot of problems that could break the cube that you wouldn't expect. And also it's hard to find support for that. For instance, a card like High Five, like that High Five card that lets you go around and give everyone 5. Well, usually you're not playing it at LGS, and if you are, I don't know if other people are going to like it, if you're just running around giving other people 5. Oh, that's cool. So what do you think? Like, is it worth it to to make an uncube? I think we could maybe combine cards from all three unsets and maybe make a good one. Like, it'd be fun to have a bunch of cheaty faces in there and see, like, watch people try and cheat them in. That would actually be kind of fun. So, there's lots you could do, and make it interesting. Graveyard busybody. Oh, a foil party crasher. One of my, a friend of mine in a local, well, not even a friend of mine, like an acquaintance in local Facebook group is actually looking for a bunch of these. So, I'll put that aside for them. All right. It's just kind of, like, I don't know, maybe it'd be a good idea. It's maybe the next project I'll work on after this peasant cube is so-called finished. Now, I say finished because, as you know, cubes are never really finished. They're only finished until the next set. So, we'll see where we go with that. Anyways, so what do you think? Is there a good place for this? Is it fun to play with these in an uncube? Now, the second thing is, do they belong in things like a peasant cube or a tribal cube or something like that? Like maybe squirrels could be a tribe or something. I'm not sure. The problem is that these cards have the potential to really kind of break something. And not just that, but it's also possible that, people are going into a cube expecting a certain type of game. And when you suddenly throw in like an uncard, it kind of changes what people are expecting. Now, that could be a good thing, but it could also be a really bad thing as well, and could make people like just not enjoy it, right? So I'm kind of on the fence about if we should do that or not. I'd like to know what you guys think about it. Like, is it a good idea, to include this in a regular cube, besides not an uncube, but like a regular cube? So, anyways, let me know in the comments what you think about that. All right, moving on. So there's a couple things. Like, this year has been kind of an interesting year in Magic the Gathering. There's a couple things I did want to talk about. Like, for instance, like the bannings that have happened. Now, I understand bannings are important, right? And that they're useful, but it's good if Magic or Wizards could kind of try and work harder to make sure that there's no bannings. Right now, the reason why is because people already face an incredible barrier to entry into Magic the Gathering. When you're playing Standard now, it's often costing like hundreds of dollars to get into it. And that's pretty hard for some people to kick out, especially for young players. And then when you ban a deck, you ban a card, you potentially ban the card that they were using, and it makes it so that their investment is basically for nothing. And then what they did this year is that a lot of people would switch to a different deck only to have that deck get cards banned from it as well, right? So that's kind of tough. Now some people would say, well, those people are a bunch of dirty, filthy net deckers, and they should, that's their problem for, just net decking. Well, yeah, kind of. Okay, now you got to keep in mind, first of all, that especially when you're playing some formats, you're just playing, like, especially in Modern, you're just playing like archetypes. Like, there's very few. Oh, I've been looking for this card. It's a fun card. So, anyways, when you're playing, like, often you're playing a number of different archetypes, especially in Modern. So, it's hard to play a homebrew against like these tuned, tier 1 decks. But in Standard it's less so, and I understand that. So, still though, there's some people who aren't good at brewing, right? And it doesn't mean that they just want to win, right? Like, I think there's a lot of people that say that net deckers just want to win and that's it. And they don't care about other people. But, sometimes they're just not good at brewing. And they know that, so they're just going to choose something that they like, and they look for something, decent, and they go with that. And that might be the tier 1 deck. It might not be like, they might not have chosen that because it's a winning deck. They might have chosen it just because they like that style. Like, for instance, in the past, I built a a Splinter Twin deck, right? And it was a variation. It wasn't exactly the same, but mostly. And then very shortly after that, Splinter Twin got banned. And that really hurt quite a bit because, like you basically spend like, quite a bit of money to get into it, and then you just lose your investment, right? And you also don't even get to play the deck, right? So, I mean, that's kind of harsh. The only good thing is that those cards were usable in other formats, and so, it wasn't an entire loss. Moving on from that, I think though that the barrier to entry is quite high, especially for cost. So we need to be respectful of people's investment, and try and make it so that we're not breaking the format. And that's more of not a message for us, but more of a message for Wizard of the Coast. Stop introducing cards that break the format. And they admitted that the cat combo was something they just missed. Of course you can't find everything, but anyways, just a better job. Trying to avoid things like that would be nice. I think that it'll be a little bit better also when we're not dealing with like multi sets. I mean, like for instance with Ixalan, you got 2 parts in the set, and so it's hard to know like if things are going to go well. When you're dealing with 2 different parts of the same set, and you're only releasing half at a time. So when we go to the next set, then they're going back into just 1 box sets, or 1 sets for the whole thing, and it should be easier to control that then, I hope. Right, so anyways, talking about barrier to entry, one thing is it's actually quite difficult to get involved in Magic the Gathering because the cost to enter it is actually quite high. And yeah, you can play some casual matches, but after a while you get kind of bored just playing like the low level stuff, and some people really want to play the high level stuff. And so yeah, you do have to pay to play, that's part of the game. But when you're talking about like $300 plus to get into standard, that's not really reasonable, right? Like, especially for a rotating format, that's quite a bit to pay to get into it. Whereas like you can get into modern for almost like the same price or cheaper, and it's not a format that rotates. So I mean, I think that we do have to lower the price in standard somehow. Now that brings me to the new decks, those challenge decks that are coming out. Now I really hope that Wizards of the Coast doesn't mess that up, right? I think they're a good idea. They're a good way to lower prices. And some people aren't going to like it because they're going to say, oh, those cards I spent all this money on are going to go down. Well, yes, but like how many other hobbies do we have where you buy your equipment, like, that's basically what this is. You buy your equipment, you play it, and you use it for a while, and then you get to sell it at a increased price, for like later. I know that's kind of a controversial opinion, but like, I mean, sometimes you can, but it can't be an expectation, right? Like, like if you had a fisherman and they went and bought like rod and reel, and then they used it for like, say, 3 or 4 years, and then wanted to try and sell it for more, I don't think that would be a reasonable thing. If they could, maybe that's a classic one, or maybe it's a really good one and the company went bankrupt or something like that. Yeah, sure, then maybe you could, but you just kind of got lucky. I don't think that can be an expectation. Otherwise the game would just get so expensive because, like, let's say for instance I buy this card, Ground Pounder, right? And I buy it for $0.25, but then I want to sell it for 50 cents. But then that person wants to sell it for $1, and then that person wants to sell it for $2, and then eventually people aren't willing to get rid of their cards for anything. So I mean, it has to stop somewhere, right? Like, you have to realize that at some point, you just might not get your money back, right? So I think you got to kind of accept that if you're going to be playing this game, that yeah, you could get lucky, you could get your money back, but this whole MTG finance thing is really kind of sketchy. You're probably not going to be able to make your money back or to make thousands and thousands of dollars. Like I heard someone at my local game store talking about it, and they're like, oh, if I only had this card went from like 25 cents to $5. If I only bought 1,000 of them, right, then I could have, oh sweet, Sword of Dungeons and Dragons. If I only bought 1,000 of them, I could be like just totally rich right now. Like, yeah, but who could have predicted that would happen? Like, and even if you could you have found 1,000 of them? And then after that, you got to try and sell 1,000 of them. So yeah, it seems like you could, but then you still got to sit on all this stock. You gotta hold on to it, store it, package it, send it out. I love rules of lawyer. Look at that text. That's ridiculous. So it's not that easy to say like, well, you could just easily go and get make thousands and thousands of dollars without a significant investment of time or money. Anyways, getting back to the challenger decks, I think that they're a good idea. I hope Wizards does really well at them. In saying that they're going to be competitive standard decks. I hope that they're kind of like the modern event deck. And I know some people didn't like the modern event deck, but I actually think it's still very, very powerful. And it's a nice thing. I gave someone a version of it, and it's super powerful. It's really fun to play, very interactive, and I think Wizards did a good job of that. The only problem is that it had cards in it that eventually became so valuable that even my LGS was just opening them up just to sell the pieces, because it was worth more as parts than it was in pieces. Earl of Scrolls, awesome. So it just depends, if they can come up with something like that. So hopefully they can, and I hope they do a good job, because I want to see this game thrive. And it's important for us to bring in new players to the game, rather than, because if you don't bring in new players, this game's just dead, right? So, we got to bring in new players, right? So I got a whole bunch of X's. Anyways, so what do you think? I'm curious to see it, and they've said, well, we don't we're confident you'll be excited about this, and so here's hoping. All right. So, anyways, so there's other things that happened this year, namely there's some drama going on in the YouTube community. I've tried to stay out of it, for the most part, and I think most other people have, unless they're directly involved. I just think there's things on both sides. One of the issues is that your cards on Magic the Gathering Online can Wizards just take them, and there's a guy, MTG Lawyer, or YouTube Lawyer, and he actually made a good foil plains. That is awesome. So mountain. So YouTube Lawyer, he has a channel, and he made a good analysis of the terms of service, saying that Wizards of the Coast probably does not have the right to just confiscate your cards online, right? And just they can shut down your account, but they can't just confiscate your cards. Those are still yours. They still have value, so they have to either give you a chance to sell them or pay you out for them or something. But the only problem is that in order for you to do that, you'd have to fight them, and it would probably cost you $50,000 in court, in lawyers' fees to be able to fight them. So that's going to be really difficult. But, overall, I just want to say, no one really likes all this drama, right? I think people just really don't like this much drama, and especially the kind of drama it is. I think that we just need to listen to Wheaton's Law for this, and just think don't be a dick. That's really it. It doesn't really matter if what you do is legal or not. Is it annoying or not, right? There's a YouTuber, and they kind of put it like this, is that if you're a guy at a party and you're sticking your finger into someone's face and saying, hey, I'm not touching you, and yeah, technically you're not touching them, but you're being annoying, so, and eventually the person who runs the party is going to kick you out. And if you're saying what I did is not illegal, well, okay, but you're being annoying, right? And people don't like that. And so, eventually you're going to get kicked out, and you're missing the point if you just claim that that you should be able to stay because what you did was illegal or wasn't illegal. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much about it. I think that there's different sides of that story, and I definitely understand that it's not just one person's fault, and a lot of the criticism they heap on Jeremy is not really warranted. But on the other hand, he, in my opinion, you kind of reap what you sow. You kind of bring that on yourself, in a way. So I don't know, it's not all his fault. And I think that, there's different sides to that story, but I don't know. That's why I tried to stay out of it anyways. Anyways, what do you think? Well, actually, you know what? Don't even say what you think. I just want that drama to die. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. I don't want negativity in the community. So don't comment on that. Let me know what you think about the unsets. Let me know what you think about the challenge decks. Anyways, I'll be coming back with box number 4 later. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.